Admiral Vexthal stood before the great viewing screen of his flagship, watching the stars drift past in the cold darkness of space. His purple skin gleamed under the bridge lights, and his 4 eyes moved constantly as he studied the tactical displays around him. The Zephyrian Empire had won another victory just 3 days ago, crushing the resistance on Keller Prime with barely any effort. "Sir, the intelligence reports are ready," said his aide, a younger Zephyrian with bright green markings along his neck. Vexthal turned away from the screen. His empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past 50 years. Each victory had been swift and clean. The Zephyrians were masters of war, using their advanced technology and careful planning to defeat every enemy they faced. No species had ever lasted more than a few months against their fleets. "Show me," he commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. One of the planets was blue and green, covered in oceans and continents. The data scrolled past in glowing letters. "This is the Sol system," the aide explained. "The 3rd planet is called Earth. The species calls itself human. They have only recently developed faster-than-light travel. Their technology is very basic compared to ours." Vexthal studied the information carefully. The humans had crude metal ships powered by chemical rockets and nuclear reactors. Their weapons were simple projectile systems and primitive energy beams. They had no energy shields, no plasma cannons, and no gravity manipulation technology. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. "Our scouts counted maybe 200 vessels total. Most are small cargo ships or research vessels. They have perhaps 20 military ships, but they are tiny compared to our battle cruisers." The admiral nodded. This would be another easy conquest. The humans were even more primitive than the Kellarians had been, and that war had lasted only 6 weeks. What about their military structure? Vexthal wanted to know everything before he attacked. "Very chaotic, sir. They have no unified command. Each planet seems to have its own military force. They fight among themselves frequently. Our analysts believe they are too disorganized to mount any serious resistance." Vexthal's mandibles clicked together, a sign of satisfaction among his people. Divided enemies were the easiest to defeat. The Zephyrians had used this strategy many times before. They would attack the strongest human military base first, destroy it completely, and then demand surrender from the rest. "Have they attempted to contact us?" he asked. "Yes, sir. A human captain named Jake Morrison sent several messages requesting a meeting. He claims to represent something called the United Earth Defense Force. He wants to discuss peace terms." The admiral laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Peace terms? They want to negotiate before we have even attacked? This shows how weak they are. What did you tell him?" "Nothing, sir. We ignored all their messages as you ordered." "Good. Fear makes the conquest easier. When they realize we are not interested in talking, they will panic. Panic leads to mistakes, and mistakes lead to defeat." Vexthal walked to another display showing his fleet. 12 massive battle cruisers hung in formation, each one 3 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Their hulls were smooth and silver, designed for both beauty and function. Energy shields shimmered around each ship like soap bubbles made of light. "Prepare the fleet for departure," he ordered. "We leave for the Sol system in 6 hours." "Sir, should we bring additional ships? The humans might have hidden defenses." Vexthal's eyes narrowed. 12 ships conquered the Kellarian homeworld and their 40-ship fleet. 12 ships destroyed the Nexus Federation and their orbital fortresses. 12 ships are more than enough for these primitives. The aide bowed and hurried away to relay the orders. Vexthal remained on the bridge, studying the tactical data. The humans had spread across their solar system, building colonies on several planets and moons. Their main military base appeared to be in orbit around their homeworld. It was a simple space station, barely larger than a Zephyrian destroyer. "Foolish creatures," he muttered. "They build in the open where everyone can see them. They have no concept of proper military strategy." His communication officer approached. "Admiral, we are receiving another message from the human captain." "Put it through," Vexthal decided. It might be amusing to hear what the human had to say. The screen flickered and showed a human male in a blue uniform. He had brown hair and worried eyes. Behind him, Vexthal could see other humans working at primitive computer terminals. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the exploration vessel New Frontier," the human said. "We know you are out there. We have been trying to contact you for weeks. We do not want war. We want to talk and find a peaceful solution." Vexthal studied the human carefully. The creature looked weak, with soft skin and small teeth. Its eyes showed fear, though it was trying to hide it. The Admiral had seen this same look on the faces of dozens of other species just before he conquered them. "We have much to offer," Morrison continued. "Our scientists have made discoveries that could benefit both our peoples. We have art, music, and culture that we would gladly share. Please just give us a chance to talk." The message ended, and Vexthal dismissed it with a wave of his hand. The human's words were exactly what he expected. Every species said the same things when they realized they were about to be conquered. They always offered their culture and knowledge, as if such things had any value to a superior military force. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "all ships report ready for departure." "Excellent. Begin the jump to hyperspace. We will arrive at the edge of their system and give them one chance to surrender. When they refuse, we will destroy their military base and demand submission from the rest." The great ships vanished into the swirling colors of hyperspace, carrying the Zephyrian fleet toward what their admiral believed would be another easy victory. None of them suspected that they were about to encounter something completely different from every other species they had ever faced out in the depths of space. Far from the Zephyrian fleet, other ships were moving through the darkness. These vessels were different from anything the aliens had ever seen. They were built not for beauty or efficiency, but for one purpose only: to destroy anything that threatened the survival of the human race. The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system like silver daggers cutting through black silk. Admiral Vexthal watched the tactical displays light up as his ship's sensors swept the area. Everything was exactly as the intelligence reports had described. "Sir, we are detecting the human space station," reported his sensor officer. "It is orbiting the third planet as expected. We also have multiple small ships moving between the planets." Vexthal nodded. The humans were going about their daily business, unaware that their doom had arrived. It was almost too easy. "Open A. Communication channel to all human vessels and installations," he commanded. "It is time to give them their one chance to surrender." The communication officer's fingers danced over his controls. "Channel open, sir." Vexthal stepped forward, his four eyes gleaming with confidence. "Humans of the Sol system, this is Admiral Vexthal of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been selected for integration into our domain. You will surrender all military vessels and submit to our authority. You have 1 hour to comply." He cut the transmission and smiled. Now came the waiting. Every species reacted the same way to this ultimatum. First came silence as they tried to process what was happening. Then came desperate attempts to negotiate. Finally came the futile military response that would give him an excuse to destroy them. On Terra Station, the massive orbital platform that served as Earth's primary defensive installation, Captain Jake Morrison stared at the communication screen in disbelief. Around him, The command center buzzed with activity as officers tried to make sense of what they had just heard. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant from the tactical station, "our long-range sensors are picking up 12 large ships at the system's edge. They're bigger than anything we've ever seen." Morrison ran his hand through his graying hair. He had been trying to prevent this exact situation for months. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, about 18 hours, Grant replied. "But, sir, they could be here much faster if they wanted to." "They're not even trying to hide." Morrison activated the station's communication array. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." "Channel open, sir." "Admiral Vexthul, this is Captain Morrison. I have been trying to contact your people for weeks. We don't want to fight. We want to find a peaceful solution to this situation." The response came back immediately. "Human Morrison, there is no negotiation. You have 1 hour to surrender your military forces. After that, we will take what we want by force." Morrison felt his heart sink. He had hoped that reason might prevail, but the aliens' tone made it clear that they had already decided humanity's fate. "Admiral, you don't understand what you're asking for." Morrison tried again. "We are not like the other species you have. Conquered, we will fight to defend our home." Vexthul's laughter echoed through the communication system. "All species say that, human. None of them have ever succeeded. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your small ships cannot match our firepower. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." The transmission ended, leaving Morrison staring at a blank screen. Around him, his officers waited for orders, their faces grim but determined. "Lisa, what's the status of our defensive fleet?" he asked. "We have 19 ships ready for combat," Grant reported. "The destroyers Falcon and Eagle are on patrol near Mars. The cruiser Liberty is protecting the asteroid mining stations. The rest are here at Terra Station." Morrison knew those ships would not be enough. Earth's military had been designed to fight other humans, not alien invaders with superior technology. But they had one advantage the aliens did not know about. "Send a priority message to Deep Space Command," he ordered. "Tell them the situation has gone critical." Authorization code read 7. Grant's fingers flew over her controls. Message sent. "Sir, should I order the fleet to attack positions?" "Not yet. Let them come to us. We need to buy time." 6 hours passed. The Zephyrian fleet moved steadily toward the inner system, their silver ships gleaming in the light of the sun. They made no attempt to hide their approach or vary their course. To Admiral Vexthul, this was just another routine conquest. First human colonies they encountered were the mining stations on the outer planets. These were small outposts with minimal defenses, exactly what the Zephyrians expected to find. "Sir, we have reached the first human installations," reported the tactical officer. "They are requesting permission to evacuate." Vexthul considered. "This, granted. Let them run. Fear will spread faster than any weapon." The mining stations emptied quickly, their inhabitants fleeing in small transport ships toward the inner planets. The Zephyrians watched them go, amused by the humans' panic. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "we are detecting several human military vessels approaching from the direction of the 4th planet." Vexthul turned to study the tactical display. 2 small ships were moving to intercept his fleet. They were primitive-looking vessels, barely a tenth the size of his battle cruisers. "Only 2 ships?" he asked. "Where are the rest?" "Unknown, sir. These appear to be the only ones responding to our presence." The Admiral shook his head in amazement. These humans were even more foolish than he had thought. 2 tiny ships against his entire fleet? It was almost insulting. "Destroy them," he ordered. "Make it quick." The lead Zephyrian ship fired a single plasma bolt. The energy beam struck the first human vessel, and Vexthul expected to see it vaporized instantly. Instead, The ship staggered, but remained intact. Its hull was scorched and smoking, but it continued to fly. "Interesting," he murmured. "Their armor is stronger than expected." Fire again. The second plasma bolt finished the job, tearing the human destroyer apart in a flash of fire and metal. The second ship met the same fate moments later. "2 ships destroyed," reported the tactical officer. "No survivors detected." Vexthal nodded with satisfaction. "The humans were tougher than some species, but not by much. Continue toward the inner system. Let us see what other resistance they can offer." But as his fleet moved deeper into the Sol system, the Admiral did not notice the faint energy signature that had been tracking them since they arrived. Far away, hidden in the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets, something massive was watching and waiting. Captain Ryan Brooks sat in the command chair of his ship, studying the tactical displays with cold, calculating eyes. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 years, ever since the first alien scouts had been detected at the edge of the system. "Sir," called his navigation officer, "the alien fleet is moving past our position. They still haven't detected us." Brooks nodded slowly. The Defiant was running silent, its experimental stealth systems masking its presence among the asteroids. The aliens had made a critical error by not scouting the entire system properly. "How long until they reach Terra Station?" he asked, approximately. 6 hours at their current speed," replied the officer. Brooks activated his communication system. "This is Captain Brooks to all stations. The package is ready for delivery. Repeat, the package is ready for delivery." Around him, his crew began their final preparations. These were not the scientists and diplomats the aliens had encountered so far. These were soldiers, veterans of Earth's corporate wars and planetary conflicts. They knew exactly what they were about to face, and they were ready for it. The Zephyrians continued their advance, confident in their superiority and certain of their victory. They had no idea that they were about to encounter something completely different from every other species they had ever fought. They were about to meet humanity's true face of war. The Zephyrian fleet reached the inner system like a pack of silver wolves closing in on their prey. Admiral Vexthal watched the tactical displays with growing satisfaction as his ships took their positions around the human homeworld. The blue and green planet hung before them, beautiful and defenseless. "Sir, we are detecting the main human military station," reported his sensor officer. "It is a large orbital platform with approximately 15 ships docked to it." Vexthal studied the display. Terra Station was bigger than he had expected, but still primitive compared to Zephyrian technology. The human ships clustered around it, looked like metal insects next to his massive battle cruisers. "Open a channel to the human station," he commanded. "Let us give them one final chance to surrender." The communication screen flickered to life, showing Captain Morrison on the bridge of Terra Station. The human looked tired and worried, but there was something else in his eyes that Vexthal could not quite identify. "Admiral," Morrison said, "you still have time to turn around and leave our system. We do not want to fight, but we will defend ourselves if we must." Vexthal's mandibles clicked with amusement. "Defend yourselves? With what? Your tiny ships and primitive weapons? We have conquered 17 star systems, human. Your species will be the 18th. You don't understand?" Morrison replied, "We are not like the others you have fought. We have been preparing for this day for a very long time." "Preparing?" Vexthal laughed. "We have studied your military capabilities. You have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no gravity manipulation technology. What could you possibly have prepared that would concern us?" Morrison's expression grew grim. "You're about to find out." The transmission ended, leaving Vexthal staring at a blank screen. The human's confidence was puzzling, but ultimately meaningless. No amount of preparation could overcome the technological superiority of the Zephyrian Empire. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "Target the human station and their largest ships. We will end this quickly." The Zephyrian battle cruisers powered up their weapons, energy crackling along their hulls as plasma cannons charged for firing. Their shields glowed brighter, ready to deflect any primitive projectiles the humans might throw at them. "Sir?" called the sensor officer, his voice suddenly urgent. "I'm detecting a massive energy signature approaching from the asteroid belt." Vexthul turned to study the long-range sensors. A single contact was moving toward them, but it was unlike anything they had seen before. The energy output was enormous, far larger than any human ship in their intelligence files. "What is that?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. It's big, whatever it is. Maybe twice the size of our flagship." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Impossible. The humans don't have the technology to build ships that large. But as the contact drew closer, it became clear that the impossible was happening. The human ship emerged from the asteroid field like a mountain of metal and death, its hull black and scarred from countless battles. It was not sleek and beautiful like the Zephyrian vessels. It was ugly, brutal, and designed for one purpose only, to destroy anything that stood in its way. "Mother of stars," whispered the tactical officer. "Look at that thing." The human Dreadnought was a masterpiece of military engineering, but not in the way the Zephyrians understood it. Where their ships were elegant and efficient, this vessel was raw power made manifest. Its hull was covered in armor plating thick enough to stop asteroid impacts. Weapon systems bristled from every surface, like the spines of some ancient predator. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the alien fleet through his main view screen. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency, their movements precise and deadly. These were not the frightened colonists the aliens had encountered before. These were Earth's finest warriors, veterans of humanity's bloodiest conflicts. "Sir?" called Chief Engineer Pete Collins from his station. "All systems are green. Reactors at full power, weapons charged and ready." Brooks nodded. "Weapons Officer Sterling, target the lead alien ship. Full spread, maximum yield." Amy Sterling's fingers danced over her controls, her face lit by the glow of targeting displays. "Targets locked, sir. Kinetic cannons loaded, missile tubes flooded, energy weapons charged." "Sir?" called the communications officer. "The aliens are hailing us." "Put it through," Brooks ordered. Admiral Vexthul's image appeared on the screen, his four eyes wide with shock and confusion. "What is that vessel?" "It was not in our intelligence reports." Brooks smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That's because we didn't want you to know about it. This is the U.E.S.A. Defiant, and I'm Captain Ryan Brooks. You made a mistake coming here. One ship cannot defeat our entire fleet," Vexthul declared, though his voice carried less confidence than before. "Surrender now, and your death will be quick." "You still don't understand," Brooks replied. "We don't surrender. We don't retreat. We don't negotiate. We fight until one of us is dead." The transmission ended, and Brooks turned to his crew. "All hands, this is the captain. We have trained for this moment our entire lives. These aliens think they know war, but they have never faced humanity. Show them what we are capable of." The Defiant accelerated toward the Zephyrian fleet, its massive engines pushing it forward like a bullet fired from the barrel of a gun. The aliens opened fire first, their plasma cannons sending streams of superheated energy toward the human ship. The plasma bolts struck the Defiant's armor and scattered, like water hitting a stone wall. The ship's experimental defensive systems absorbed the energy and channeled it into its own weapons. Where the Zephyrians expected to see destruction, they saw only scorch marks on thick metal plating. "Impossible," Vexthul breathed. Nothing can withstand a direct hit from our plasma cannons. But the Defiant was not built like other ships. Its armor was designed to survive the brutal conditions of asteroid mining, where a single mistake could mean death. Its structure was reinforced, with metals forged in the heart of dying stars. It was not just a ship. It was a weapon of war, created by a species that had spent 10,000 years learning how to kill. Return fire, Brooks ordered. The Defiant's weapons erupted in a symphony of destruction. Kinetic cannons fired streams of dense metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Nuclear missiles streaked toward their targets, their warheads glowing with deadly promise. Energy weapons that had been developed from mining lasers cut through space like swords of light. Zephyrian ship took the full force of the human barrage. Its energy shields flared and died under the assault, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of incoming fire. The ship's hull cracked and split, venting atmosphere and debris into space. "Shield failure on the Nexus," reported the tactical officer, his voice filled with disbelief. "Hull breach on multiple decks." Vexthal stared at the display in shock. No enemy had ever penetrated their shield so easily. The human weapons were crude compared to Zephyrian technology, but they were devastatingly effective. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel," he commanded. "Destroy it before it can fire again." The remaining 11 Zephyrian ships opened fire together, their combined plasma barrage lighting up space like a miniature sun. The energy struck the Defiant from all directions, and for a moment Vexthal thought they had won. But the human ship emerged from the plasma storm like a demon rising from hell. Its armor was glowing red-hot, and pieces of its hull had been blown away, but it was still fighting, still advancing, still coming for them. "How is that possible?" demanded the Admiral. His answer came in the form of another devastating salvo from the Defiant's weapons. This time, 2 Zephyrian ships were caught in the barrage. Their shields failed, their hulls shattered, and they died in brilliant explosions that lit up the darkness of space. Captain Brooks watched the alien ships die with grim satisfaction. "Chief Collins, damage report." "Hull integrity at 80%, the engineer replied. "Minor damage to outer armor, but all critical systems are operational." "Good. Helm, bring us around for another pass. Let's show these aliens what human warfare really looks like." The Defiant turned toward the remaining Zephyrian ships like a predator selecting its next victim. The aliens had expected a quick, clean victory against a primitive species. Instead, they had found themselves facing something far more dangerous. A species that had turned warfare into an art form and death into a science. Admiral Vexthal looked at his tactical display and felt fear creep into his hearts for the first time in his long military career. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by a single human ship. The rest were damaged and demoralized, their crews struggling to understand how their superior technology had failed them so completely. The truth was beginning to dawn on him. The humans were not like the other species he had conquered. They were something else entirely. Something that had been forged in the fires of 10,000 years of constant warfare. Something that did not fight to conquer, but to survive. And survival, he was learning, was the most dangerous motivation of all. The battle raged through the dark void of space as the Defiant carved through the Zephyrian fleet like a blade through silk. Admiral Vexthal watched in growing horror as his carefully planned invasion turned into a nightmare of destruction and death. "Sir, we've lost 5 ships," reported his tactical officer, his voice shaking. "The Crimson Dawn is venting atmosphere, and the Star Piercer has lost main power." Vexthal stared at the tactical display, unable to believe what he was seeing. The human Dreadnought moved through his fleet with deadly purpose, its weapons firing continuously. But what horrified him most was not the ship's firepower, but its tactics. The humans were not fighting to disable or capture. They were fighting to kill. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving distress signals from the Void Walker. They're requesting permission to abandon ship." "Granted," Vexthal said quickly. "Launch all escape pods immediately." But as the small rescue pods ejected from the dying Zephyrian ship, the human Dreadnought turned its weapons on them. The Admiral watched in shock as the Defiant's point defense systems methodically destroyed each escape pod, leaving no survivors. "What are they doing?" he whispered. Those were non-combatants. On the bridge of the Defiant, Weapons Officer Amy Sterling tracked the enemy escape pods with cold efficiency. Her targeting computer highlighted each one as it launched, and her finger never hesitated on the trigger. "Escape pods destroyed," she reported. "No survivors." Captain Brooks nodded approvingly. "Good work. We can't let them report back to their empire. Dr. Hayes, how are our wounded?" Chief Medical Officer Dr. Karen Hayes looked up from her medical station, where she was treating injured crew members. "We have 12 wounded, sir. None critical. The crew is holding up well." Brooks was proud of his people. They had trained for this moment for years, knowing that when humanity finally faced an alien threat, there would be no room for mercy or hesitation. The survival of their species depended on their ability to fight without limits. "Chief Collins, what's our status?" he asked. "Hull integrity at 70%, the engineer replied. "We're taking damage, but nothing we can't handle." The aliens. Weapons are powerful, but they're not designed to penetrate our armor. "That's because they've never fought anyone like us," Brooks said. "Most species probably surrender after losing a few ships. They don't understand that we're not fighting to win territory or resources. We're fighting to survive." The Defiance AI system, programmed by former military strategist Colonel Ben Parker, analyzed the battle data in real time. It studied the alien tactics, learned their patterns, and predicted their next moves. The AI had been trained on every human conflict in recorded history, from ancient tribal wars to the corporate battles that had raged across the solar system. "Captain," called Navigation Officer Steve Murphy, "the AI is recommending we target their command ship next. It's the largest one, dead center of their formation." Brooks smiled grimly. "Good idea. Sterling, target their flagship. I want to send a message to their admiral." The Defiance weapons swiveled toward the massive Zephyrian command ship. Its hull was twice the size of the other vessels, covered in elegant curves and glowing with internal power. To the aliens, it represented the pinnacle of their technological achievement. To the humans, it was just another target. "Sir," called Communications Specialist Julie Adams, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship." "Put it through," Brooks ordered. Admiral Vexthul's image appeared on the screen, his 4 eyes wide with desperation. "Human captain, this slaughter must stop. We can negotiate. We can find a peaceful solution." Brooks stared at the alien commander. With cold eyes, "You came to our system uninvited. You attacked our colonies. You killed our people. Now you want to negotiate?" "We did not expect such resistance," Vexthul admitted. "Your species is more formidable than we realized. We can withdraw our forces and leave your system in peace." "Leave?" Brooks laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think you can just turn around and go home? You think you can tell your empire where to find us and how to fight us? No, Admiral. You made a mistake coming here, and now you're going to pay for it." "You cannot destroy us all," Vexthul protested. "We still outnumber you." "Numbers don't matter," Brooks replied. "What matters is that we know something you don't. We know what it takes to survive in a universe full of predators. We've been practicing for 10,000 years." The transmission ended, and Brooks turned to his crew. "All stations, prepare for final assault. Let's finish this." The Defiant accelerated toward the Zephyrian flagship, its weapons charging for maximum output. The alien ship tried to retreat, but the human vessel was faster and more maneuverable. It had been designed by engineers who understood that in space combat, speed and agility were just as important as armor and firepower. "Sir," called Chief Security Officer Tony Martinez from his station, "I'm detecting multiple alien ships attempting to flee the battle." "Let them go," Brooks ordered. "We'll hunt them down later. Right now, I want that flagship." The Defiance. Weapons opened fire, and space lit up with the fury of human engineering. Kinetic rounds punched through the alien ship's shields like bullets through paper. Nuclear missiles detonated against its hull, each explosion leaving craters in the elegant metal. Energy beams cut through armor, plating like hot knives through butter. On the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Vexthal felt his ship shudder under the human assault. Emergency alarms blared throughout the vessel as systems failed one by one. His crew worked frantically to maintain power and life support, but the damage was too severe. "Sir, we're losing structural integrity," reported his engineering officer. "The humans are targeting our weakest points with surgical precision." Vexthal realized with growing horror that the humans were not just attacking randomly. They were systematically destroying his ship, section by section, prolonging the agony. It was as if they wanted him to suffer before he died. "Sir," called systems analyst Rachel Stone from her station on the Defiant, "I'm reading critical damage to the alien flagship. Their power core is destabilizing." Brooks nodded. "All hands, prepare for shockwave. The alien ship is about to explode." The Zephyrian flagship died in a burst of white light that briefly outshone the sun. When the explosion faded, nothing remained but drifting debris and the memory of a once mighty vessel. "Flagship destroyed," reported Sterling. "Admiral confirmed dead." Brooks looked at the tactical display with the remaining Zephyrian ships. "We're fleeing toward the edge of the system." Only 4 vessels remained out of the original 12, and they were all damaged and demoralized. "Sir," called Murphy from the navigation station, "should we pursue the survivors?" Brooks considered. The smart tactical move would be to let them escape, to avoid further damage to his own ship. But Captain Brooks was not thinking like a tactician. He was thinking like a human, and humans did not let enemies escape to fight another day. "Set. Course to intercept," he ordered. "We're going to finish what they started." The Defiant turned toward the fleeing aliens, its engines blazing with deadly intent. The survivors of the Zephyrian fleet looked back at the human ship and saw death itself coming for them. They had learned too late that they were not the apex predators. They had believed themselves to be dot in the vast galaxy. There were older and more dangerous species. There were beings that had evolved in the fires of constant warfare, that had learned to fight not for conquest or glory, but for the simple right to exist. The Zephyrians had found humanity, and humanity had found them. Wanting. "Captain," called Adams from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from Terra Station. Captain Morrison is requesting a status update." Brooks activated the communication system. "Terra Station, this is Captain Brooks. The alien fleet has been neutralized. We are pursuing the survivors." "Understood, Captain." "Well done. Earth Command is standing by for your full report." "Tell them the message is simple," Brooks replied. "We are not prey. We are not victims. We are the species that survived every extinction event our planet could throw at us. And we are not going to be conquered by anyone." The Defiant disappeared into the darkness of space, hunting the last of the alien invaders. Behind it, the wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet drifted silent and cold, a monument to the folly of underestimating humanity's capacity for violence. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Some species were meant to be left alone. 3 damaged Zephyrian ships limped through hyperspace, their crews silent with shock and terror. The elegant vessels that had once been the pride of the Empire now bore the scars of humanity's wrath. Hull breaches sealed with emergency patches, burned-out weapon systems, and the haunting memory of watching their fleet die piece by piece. Commander Thexfar, the highest-ranking survivor, sat in the command chair of the Stellar Wind and stared at the tactical recordings of the battle. He had watched the data feeds 100 times, but he still could not believe what he had seen. "Sir," called his communications officer, her voice barely above a whisper. "We will reach the home system in 6 hours." Thexver nodded slowly. He dreaded the moment when he would have to explain to the High Council how 12 battle cruisers had been destroyed by a single human ship. They would demand answers he did not have, explanations that defied everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about warfare. "Prepare a full tactical report," he ordered. "Include all sensor data, communication logs, and battle recordings. The Council will want to see everything." The journey home felt like a funeral procession. The 3 ships that had survived were all that remained of Admiral Vexthil's mighty fleet. Hundreds of Zephyrian warriors were dead, their bodies scattered across the cold vacuum of space around the human homeworld. When they finally arrived at Sephir Prime, the capital world of the Empire, the survivors were met by a fleet of medical ships and military escorts. Word of the disaster had already reached the High Council, and they were demanding immediate answers. Thexver found himself standing before the great assembly chamber, where the 12 members of the High Council sat in their elevated seats. Their faces showed a mixture of anger, confusion, and fear. The Zephyrian Empire had never suffered such a devastating defeat. "Commander," spoke High Counselor Zexthul, his voice echoing through the chamber, "explain to us how an entire battle fleet was destroyed by a single primitive vessel." Thexvar activated the holographic display, showing the tactical recordings of the battle. The Council watched in stunned silence as the human Dreadnought tore through their ships with brutal efficiency. "The humans were not what we expected," he began carefully. "Their technology is different from ours, but no less effective. Their ship was built for one purpose: to destroy anything that threatened them." "Impossible," declared another counselor. "Our intelligence reports clearly showed that humans were a primitive species with basic technology." "The intelligence was wrong," Thexver replied. "They showed us only what they wanted us to see. The ship that attacked us was hidden in their asteroid belt, waiting. They had been preparing for our arrival." The council members exchanged worried glances. If the humans had been expecting them, it meant they had been planning for war while pretending to seek peace. "Show us the weapon." "Systems," demanded High Counselor Zexthul. Thexver manipulated the display, highlighting the human ship's armaments. They use kinetic weapons that fire solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Their missiles carry nuclear warheads that can penetrate our shields. Their energy weapons are crude, but devastatingly powerful. How can primitive weapons defeat our superior technology? Asked another counselor. Because they are not fighting the same war we are, Thexver explained. We fight to conquer and control. We use precise strikes to disable enemy ships and capture their resources. The humans fight to kill. Every weapon on their ship is designed to destroy, not disable. The display showed the moment when the human ship had targeted the escape pods from the dying Zephyrian vessels. The council watched in horror as the Defiant methodically destroyed each rescue craft, leaving no survivors. "They killed non-combatants," whispered one of the counselors. "That violates every rule of civilized warfare. The humans do not follow our rules," Thexver said grimly. "They have their own way of war, and it is more ruthless than anything we have ever encountered." The recordings continued, showing the systematic destruction of the Zephyrian fleet. The Council watched as ship after ship was torn apart by human weapons, their crews vaporized in brilliant explosions. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we have received priority messages from 17 different star systems. They are all reporting the same thing. Human ships have been detected at the edge of their territories." A cold silence fell over the chamber. The implication was clear. The humans had not been content to simply defend their home system. They were expanding, and they were doing it with the same brutal efficiency they had shown in battle. "How many ships?" asked High Counselor Zexthul. "Unknown, sir. The reports are scattered and incomplete, but it appears to be a significant force." Far away, in the Sol system, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed shipyard orbiting Mars. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see the skeletal frameworks of a dozen new dreadnoughts under construction. "Sir?" called Chief Engineer Pete Collins, joining him at the window. "The latest batch of ships will be ready in 6 months. Earth Command is calling it the Retribution class." Brooks nodded with satisfaction. The victory over the Zephyrians had been just the beginning. Humanity had learned that they were not alone in the universe, and that other species saw them as potential prey. The logical response was to ensure that no one would ever make that mistake again. "How many systems have our scout ships reached?" he asked. 43 so far," Collins replied. "Most of them are showing signs of alien activity. Some are friendly, others are hostile. But word is spreading about what happened here." Brooks smiled grimly. "Good. Let them know that humanity is not to be trifled with." The construction of the new fleet represented a massive undertaking. Every shipyard in the solar system was working at full capacity, building vessels designed for one purpose: to protect humanity by making it too dangerous to attack. On Terra Station, Captain Jake Morrison reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The galaxy was a much more dangerous place than they had imagined, filled with species that viewed warfare as a natural state of existence. But humanity had something most of them lacked: the willingness to fight to the death for their survival. "Sir," called Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant, "we have received a transmission from the Galactic Council. They are requesting a meeting to discuss peaceful coexistence." Morrison read the message carefully. The tone was very different from the arrogant demands they had received from the Zephyrians. This was a request, not an ultimatum. "They're scared," he realized. "Word has spread about what happened to the Zephyrian fleet." "What should we tell them?" Grant asked. "Tell them we will consider their proposal," Morrison replied. "But make it clear that any future attacks on human territory will be met with the complete destruction of the aggressor species." Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the human fleet continued its expansion. Each new system they entered received the same message. Humanity was now a galactic power, and they would defend their interests with deadly force if necessary. The aliens who had once seen humans as primitive prey now spoke of them in whispered tones. They called them the Death Worlders, beings who had evolved on a planet so hostile that they had learned to turn violence into an art form. Stories spread throughout the galaxy of the human Dreadnought that had destroyed an entire Zephyrian fleet. The tales grew in the telling, becoming legends that parents used to frighten their children. Some said the humans could not be killed, that they would fight until every last one of them was dead. Others claimed that human ships could appear anywhere without warning, bringing death to those who threatened them. The truth was simpler and more terrifying. Humanity had learned that the universe was full of predators, and they had decided to become the apex predator themselves. Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of the Defiant, now the flagship of humanity's expanding fleet. Around him, his crew prepared for another patrol mission to the outer systems. They had become the guardians of human space, ensuring that no other species would ever mistake humanity for easy prey. "Sir," called Navigation Officer Steve Murphy, "we have received reports of alien ships massing near the Kepler system. They appear to be planning another attack." Brooks smiled coldly. "Set course for Kepler. It's time to teach another species the price of threatening humanity." The Defiant disappeared into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward another battle. Behind it, the solar system bustled with activity as humanity prepared for the wars to come. They had learned that peace was not something that could be negotiated or purchased. It was something that had to be earned through strength and maintained through the constant threat of overwhelming retaliation. The galaxy had wanted to see how humans fought. Now they knew, and they would never forget the lesson taught in the vast council chambers of 100 different species. The same message was being delivered. Humanity was not to be attacked, not to be threatened, and certainly not to be underestimated. They were the species that had survived every extinction event their homeworld could create, and they had brought that same deadly resilience to the stars. The age of easy conquests was over. The humans had arrived, and they had changed everything.